Hello there, and as usual, I'm Aaron from Last Stand Gamers, and welcome. So today I want to talk about a rather controversial topic. We're going to be talking about ramming other ships. Now, even though it's a little bit of a shameful and dishonourable sort of practice, you may say that it does serve a purpose, and if you are on a last sort of ditch attempt, the enemy are winning, they are beating you, then you may just have to ram another ship to try to turn the battle in your favour. So here we have the Claw Mark II. I built the Claw a while ago. We can actually just see the Claw. We've got like a grappling hook on the side, but we're not going to be talking about this today. We're just going to be trying to work out what the most effective ways are of ramming an enemy ship. So there's a few different factors that we're going to try to take into consideration. Now, the biggest ones are going to be weight of your ship, velocity of your ship, as well as angle of impact. On top of that, we've also got other things like how your ship is actually shaped. If your ship is a complete square box, you have a large surface area, so that means the impact is going to be spread out along a large area. Now, if you have a more pointed ship, it means that a lot of that velocity and force is going to be pushed into this particular point. But will that transfer into Space Engineers? That's what I really want to test out today. And I've designed a few other ones just to have a little bit of fun with. I've done a blade sort of design, so the idea of cutting into the hull. And then over in this one, we've got even a sharper point. So more of the velocity will be actually directed into the ship in that area. So before we start crashing ships into each other, we need to do a baseline test and find the most effective tip to stick on the front of your ship. Now, for the baseline, I've got a light armor 16 long light armored block attached to the Claw. Now, the idea of this is we're going to read that up to accelerating speeds. We're going to hit right into the side here, and we'll see exactly just how much damage it does. So if I switch back to my character, hop into the cockpit, and I'm going to hold the accelerator down and disable my inertia dampeners so we get the correct sort of feeling. So let's actually begin the acceleration process. And what speed are we getting up to here? We should reach the same speed each time. So there we go. We're impacting about 52 meters a second it looked like. I'll have to look back at the recording. But we can have a look at the sort of damage we've done. We'll pop out. We'll scroll over here. So that's the sort of damage a light armor on light armor block will do. And I put some thrusters behind it to make sure it had a similar sort of feel that ship would when it's impacted, because the thrusters would turn on. But very interesting indeed. We're going to have to see if the other warheads actually make too much of difference on the impact. So after reviewing the results from the first test, we're going to try the exact same, but with heavy armor. Now, since this is a lot heavier, we're going to lose a little bit of our speed. But let's just see exactly how much. So we're going to accelerate towards the target. Last time we got up to about about 50 meters a second. It looks like we're just getting up to 40, 41 and impact. Okay, it looks actually like we've done less damage towards the target, so speed might pay a lot more than what we're actually hitting it with than the weight and the object. Let's have a look. So there we go, we've got an impact. Let's compare it to our result over here if we just bring it to the side. So before we move on, comparing to the baseline test that is on the right, it looks like the first flat heavy warhead didn't do too well. So we're moving on to something a little bit harder, and we've got this one pointed as well. It weighs a little bit less due to the weight being taken off from that frontal block area as it's shaved down as a knife point, but we'll give it a little bit of a go. So we're in the ship now, and we'll advance towards the target, aiming at the exact same spot as before. We're aiming a little bit off to the left, and we'll ram straight into the side and see what happens. Okay, so it looks like we may have got better penetration into the actual target itself here, but we'll have to review it in a moment. Now, before we continue on, let's quickly examine the results. So as you can see from this latest warhead, we actually got quite good penetration, just a little bit further though than the flat warhead, so this pointing wasn't really worth it, but at the same time it did save a little bit of weight, giving us extra speed, but still, the light armored block has had the best penetration so far, but that is purely down to the speed and velocity that it was sent at. That extra 10 meters a second give it a really powerful edge. But saying that, keeping the ship intact was very important with the heavy armor. Your ship came off better than your ship did if it was made of light armor. Now let's do another test. I've got another sort of knife blade. This one is a little bit thinner, and then we'll test out the final knife blade and we'll see which one is most effective. It's revealing some strange results. I would have honestly expect better penetration with a sharper warhead, but I guess the physics don't apply in such a manner. So we're bringing the knife head towards the target here, and we'll see what sort of impact we get. Okay, that looked pretty good. Alright, I'm going to back off now, and we'll see what sort of damage we got. We got a very clean sort of cut into the target with that knife blade. So we're going in with the sharpest knife blade. We're accelerating up to full power, and you can just see the meters a second. This one, since it's lighter, we're going to get much higher speed. Let's see what sort of penetration we get, though. Okay, looking good. I've put the inertia dampeners on, and we're stuck within the side of the ship. If I continue to push with the inertia dampeners, all we'll get is the block starting to move and no more damage. So after looking at the final result of the sharpest knife blade, we got a very high penetration compared to the last few tests, but I am really on the fence. You don't seem to be gaining too much from having a sharp warhead. A flat warhead at this stage, or even just light armor, impacting a light armor block seems to do a hell of a lot of damage. Now, to probably improve our games, we could do a blast door block since it's much stronger and tougher, and we'd see what impact that has on it. But this is going to be your traditional front of a ship, so that's why I'm not going to be covering that. Anyway, let's actually try out 2 of these against a normal ship. I fancy trying out the flat light armored one at high speed and the knife blade at high speed as well. So in this first scenario, we have the Calypso directly in front of us, and what we're going to attempt to do is get up to maximum speed so we have the most possible chance of causing the most damage to this ship. As you can see, we're accelerating towards it. We're a little bit high at the moment, so we're going to bring ourselves down, and we are at 100 meters a second, so let's have a look at this impact. Okay, so the light armor of our ship has absolutely been wrecked. Just a horrible result, but we have done a lot of damage to the enemy ship as well. Let's just have a look a little bit more in detail. Very nice indeed. We've got a lot of damage done there, but we have lost the whole front of our ship, so I would call that wasn't even worth a ram. That was just a suicide mission. But I'm guessing as a last resort, that would be something you might want to attempt. Still not the top result I'm looking for. Let's try the knife blade. So now for the knife blade. What are we expecting with this one? Well, we've got heavy armor, so I'm expecting better penetration and better survivability on our behalf. So we're going to bring ourselves and try to impact the exact same point of the ship once again. Bring ourselves a little bit further down, and there we go, we've hit it, and the actual point itself seems to have deflected us from the enemy ship, so that is something really interesting. So let's actually just hop out and have a quick look at the damage like we did before. So we can see that we actually hit the ship and our own point deflected us. The combination of the 2 points of the ship deflected off, so that's something you want to take in consideration, definitely. It looks like we could have done more damage and our ship survived better. So wrapping up our testing, we found out that actually a pointy warhead doesn't do too much more penetration than a large flat end. And that's interesting because if you have a flat-ended ship and you decide to go into a ram, you're going to cause a lot more damage over a larger surface area, and you're still going to get the same penetration that you would have with a pointy tip, where you'd expect all the force to be focused in that particular area. The pointy tip decided that it wanted to bounce off, so that's another rather interesting thing. I did some testing before, and I'll show you another clip. The warhead actually bounced off again when it had a pointy end. Very interesting. So build the front of your ships out of heavy armor, and make sure that you're prepared if some other player decides to ram you. Try to evade, try to escape, do whatever you can, and as a last resort, ram into them and take them out.